Okay, on this question, we have, well, first off, notice we have some powers with powers on the outside of parentheses. So let me remind you what powers outside parentheses. Powers outside parentheses. Multiply powers inside parentheses. So any item inside parentheses not showing its power really has a 1 power, right? Remember, every item has a power. So that means I got to give a 1 and a 1 there to those guys. Is that making sense? Any item inside of a parentheses not showing its power really has a 1 power. So you include the 2 and the X, numbers and letters. Any item inside parentheses really has a 1 power. You need to give them their 1 powers, and then you can crank out the problem. So now this 7 multiplies the 1 and multiplies the 1, because powers outside parentheses multiply powers inside parentheses. But you first got to show those powers. So if there's no power showing, they really have a 1 power. Okay. So that leaves us what? X to the 4th. And now with the parentheses, 2 to the 7th, X to the 7th over. And the bottom is X to the 4th. Color. Okay. So now where do we go from here? Well, now we're going to say we're going to these guys. So like let me write it over here. Letters side by side multiplying. That's what that means to be side by side. Side by side, they're multiplying, comma, powers add, versus letters top and bottom, which means they're dividing. Powers subtract. Let's make sure we're clear on that rule. If you have letters side by side, the powers are going to add. If the top and bottom powers are going to subtract. So these two X's are side. It doesn't matter that there's a 2 to the 7th in between. Just by the way, just figure out. In fact, yeah. Here, let me take it a little slower. Just figure out the 2 to the 7th on your calculator. So I'll just take that and I'll just go 2 times 2 times 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's 128 on your calculator. So that's going to be, and then the X to the 4th and X to the 7th is going to be 100. Oops, I'll scribble here. 128 X to the 11th over X to the 4th. You see what happened there? The 4 power and the 7 power added to become 11. 4 plus 7. Because we add the powers. So we add the powers that are side by side. Letters side by side, powers add. Even if they're not right next to each other, it doesn't matter. X to the 4th, X to the 7th, they're going to add up the powers to be X to the 11th, and then 2 to the 7th power is 128. And now what's going to happen, last step here, what's going to happen with these, the X to the 11th over X to the 4th? Well, letters top and bottom power subtract. So that's going to be 128 X to the 7th, because that comes from 11 minus 4. And there we go. There's the answer, 128 X to the 7th.